right, Nate, let's talk about it. The 2021 Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame class has been announced. Now, obviously, 2020, they were enshrined Saturday. This announcement for the 2021 class was announced Sunday, the day after. First of all, I just want to say shout out to the 2020 Basketball Hall of Fame class. Obviously, it was headlined by Tim Duncan, Kobe Bryant, and Kevin Garnett. So shout out to those guys and all the other Hall of Famers that were enshrined in that class. But the 2021 class, Nate, is also a great class as well. I'm gonna start off with the headliners. I'm gonna start off with the actual first year eligibility Hall of Famers. We're gonna start off with one of your favorites, Nate, Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce is now a 2021 Hall of Famer. He is now a basketball Hall of Famer. So shout out to Paul Pierce. Obviously, if you're a Boston Celtics fan, I'm going to say much about Paul Pierce. But the next guy who has also been entered in the first year of eligibility is Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh, again, he got drafted in 2003. He played with the Raptors for a little bit, and then he ended up making that move to the Miami Heat, where he ended up winning 2 championships. So shout out to Chris Bosh. Again, a great player as well. And he will be now enshrined into the Basketball Hall of Fame in his first year of eligibility. Now, we're going to go to the other two headliners. Chris Webber is now a Hall of Famer name. Chris Webber, I always thought was a very, very talented player. I think he was one of the most talented players in the NBA. Obviously, he is most known for being part of the Fab Five, that Michigan team with all the freshmen who ended up going to the NCAA finals in which, obviously, unfortunately, they lost. But not unfortunate for me because I am a UNC fan, and that is the team that they lost to. So, but regardless, Chris Webber had a great career. And again, congratulations to him on being enshrined into the 2021 Basketball Hall of Fame class. And last but not least, we're going to talk about guys who are underlooked. Look no further than this next man, Ben Wallace. Ben Wallace is a Hall of Famer now, Nate. And Ben Wallace, I always thought that this man played with a passion and a heart. I always thought his defense was incredible. I always thought he was one of the most physically strong players in the NBA. And he is now a Basketball Hall of Famer as well, Nate. So shout out to Ben Wallace and congratulations to him on being part of the 2021 Hall of Fame class. Now, other members who have been inducted into the Hall of Fame, Nate, are Rick Adelman. He is a longtime NBA coach. Jay Wright, he is a two-time NCAA champion head coach. Bill Russell, Nate, is a two-time Hall of Famer now, except this time he's being inducted as a coach. So from now on, we're going to call Bill Russell not just an 11-time champion, Nate, but a two-time Hall of Famer. Okay, let's put some respect on Bill Russell's name. Shout out to him. Yolanda Griffin, she is a 7-time WNBA All-Star. Lauren Jackson, another 7-time WNBA All-Star, except she is a 3-time MVP as well. Bob Dandridge, he was voted in by the Veterans Committee. Tony Kukoc, Tony Kukoc, he used to play with Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen on those Chicago Bulls teams. He was voted in by the International Committee. Pearl Moore, she is a 4-time AIAW Small College All-American, and she was voted in by the Women's Veterans Committee. Clarence Jenkins, she was elected as an early African-American pioneer. Val Ackermann, she is a former WNBA president. Cotton Fitzsimmons, he is a longtime NBA coach. And Howard Garfinkel, he is the creator of 5-Star Summer Camp. So those are your 2021 Hall of Fame inductees for the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. Now, I'm going to start off with you, Nate, but before I start off with you, I just want to say this article. It was written by Tim Bontemps, ESPN. So let me start off with you first, Nate. Your thoughts on the 2021 Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame class?
Oh, first of all, I just want to say congratulations to everybody who was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2020. You guys guys deserve it, and I wish you guys the best of luck moving forward. Same thing with the class of 2021. So I'm not sure if you mentioned this, but they're going to be inducted on September 11th of this year. Right. So I do look forward to watching that, and I wish them the best of luck as well. Let me start off with my guy, Paul Pierce, Mario, because you already know I still have my Paul Pierce jersey from when I was a little kid. Look at that. Look at that.
I got one too. I think it's the same color, too.
Yeah.
I got the same one. I think it's the same color.
Yeah, this doesn't fit me no more, unfortunately, but I had it when I was a kid, so I kind of kept it because Paul Pierce is my guy. But look, all my salty Boston Celtics fans, all Boston Celtics fans, man, stand up, man. You already know how it be, Boston for life. But look, let me start off with Paul Pierce, okay? Let me give you his career stats. He played 1,343 games. He had a career average points of 19.7. He had 5.6 rebounds and 3.5 assists. He was also a 10-time All-Star. He was a 4-time All-NBA. He was a 2007-08 Finals MVP. They also won that year, too, with the Celtics, so shout out to him. And he was a 1998-1999 All-Rookie. So he had himself a really, really great career, Mario. And by the way, obviously, he's the last of that amazing trio in Boston to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Ray Allen's already in the Hall of Fame, and same thing with Kevin Garnett. He just got inducted on Saturday. Now let me go to my guy, Chris Bosh. This is a guy I absolutely love watching, Mario, especially as a kid. And it's really unfortunate how his career ended, But hey, it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, he's a Hall of Famer now. And that's something to be proud of in life. He played in the career 893 games. He had 19.2 career points, 8.5 rebounds. He had 2 assists as well. He's an 11-time All-Star, a 2006-07 All-NBA. He's a 2-time NBA champ and a 2003-04 All-Rookie. Now, let me get to Chris Webber, because this is a guy, honestly, I'm going to be honest with you, Mario. He's very, very underrated, and he's very underlooked, like you said, Obviously, like you said, he was a part of Fab Five in Michigan, but he was also a part of that Sacramento team that got screwed over in that playoff series, if you know what I'm talking about. He played in the career 831 games. He had 20.7 career points, 9 career point average, 9.8 rebounds, and 4.2 assists. He was a five-time All-Star, a 5-time All-NBA. He was a 1993-94 Rookie of the Year, a 1998-1999 TRB champ, and he's a 1993-1994 All-Rookie. So he had himself a really good career as well, Mario. And he's, like you say, he's definitely very underlooked. Now, this is a guy I absolutely love as well, Mario. Ben Wallace. Fear the Fro. Afro man. I love that guy, man. I really do. Oh, shout out to Ben Wallace, Afro man. Keep shining that fro, you feel me? But look, he played in the career 1088 games, 1,088 games. He had a career of 5.7 points, 9.6 rebounds, and 1.3 assists. So now, compared to the other three, it's not that good. But then when you look at his other accomplishments, Mario, he's a 4-time All-Star. He's a 2-time TRB champ. He's a 2004 NBA champ with the Detroit Pistons, which, like you said, is a very underlooked team, an underlooked championship team, because they beat 4 Hall of Famers, like you said. He was a 2001-02 BLK champion. He was a 5-time All-NBA. He's a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, which I think is very, very impressive, Mario. And he's a 6-time All-Defensive. So he was more of a defensive player in his career, Absolutely. So, basically nothing much else for me to say. Best of luck to these guys and congratulations to all of them. But there is one thing I want to mention, Mario, Bill Russell. Bill Russell is a guy I want to mention because this guy is just a GOAT. What else can I say? He's one of the GOATs. You know what I mean? And I find it very interesting how he's going to be a 2-time Hall of Famer now, Mario, because when you look at it, this is something that you see very, very commonly with wrestling. With WWE, there's a lot of wrestlers that are 2-time Hall of Famers. I can name a couple. Ric Flair's a 2-time Hall of Famer. Shawn Michaels, I think Hulk Hogan's a 2-time Hall of Famer as well. So there's a lot of wrestlers that are 2-time Hall of Famers. You don't see this a lot out of wrestling. Outside of wrestling, you don't really see this a lot. It's very, very interesting. But you know what? He's got a flex because not only does he have 11 rings, Mario, but now he's got 2-time Hall of Fame on his status. 2-time Hall of Fame. So I figured that was worth a mention because it's something you really don't see all that often. So it's very, very interesting to point out. But with that being said, best of luck to all the Hall of Fame inductees and everybody that's going into the Hall of Fame this year in the Basketball Hall of Fame. And congratulations to you guys. And with that being said, I'll pass it on to you, Mario.
I mean, yeah, I think this 2021 class, I think this is a pretty good class. I really do. Obviously, we're going to start off with Paul Pierce. Obviously, he is a NBA champion. He is an NBA Finals MVP. This man is a 10-time All-Star. So obviously well-deserving of the Hall of Fame, especially in his first year. Paul Pierce, he really did have a big effect on a lot of Boston Celtics fans that were coming into the millennial. Obviously, the Boston Celtics are an historic franchise, and you can go through every single decade and you can pick out great, great players, Obviously, when you look at the Celtics back in the 90s, there was Walker. You look at them in the 80s, obviously there was Larry Bird, and there was obviously there was Kevin McHale. You go through like the 60s and the 50s, and it was Bill Russell and again Robert Parrish and those guys, Sam Jones. So the Boston Celtics are a that is a Hall of Fame franchise right there if I ever see one myself. But Paul Pierce, he is really the guy that really had a big effect on the millennials, Obviously, there was Paul Pierce, there was Kevin Garnett, there was Ray Allen. That big three, they were a very, very good big three. They made two finals appearances, and they were always in that championship picture, Nate. Whether they were fighting for the championship in the NBA Finals or whether they just missed it, but they were always a championship team. I truly believe that. They had some legendary battles with Kobe Bryant, Pau Gasol, and the Lakers. So when you really look at it, Nate, Paul Pierce, he was just a straight up dog. He was just a straight up. That man played like a beast every single time he got in that court. That was a true scorer right there. And again, he had a great career with ESPN. A very smart guy, a very smart analyst. Sometimes, we're questionable in the type of things he says. Obviously when we like, he's obviously said some like pretty like, questionable, had some questionable takes. But regardless, Paul Pierce is a player. You gotta love him. You gotta love him. And obviously, if you were a fan of like the Lakers or you were a fan of the Heat, you weren't that big of a Paul Pierce fan. But again, we always love people when they're going. And Paul Pierce is definitely one of those guys. And so when he retired, you definitely felt the legend leave the game. So with that being said, this is the last chapter in Paul Pierce's basketball career. He's now inducted into the Hall of Fame. And again, I do wish him the very, very best of luck moving forward. Now, going to the next Hall of Famer, Chris Bosh, man, let me tell you something. It is really unfortunate that Chris Bosh had to retire early. It really is, because Chris Bosh was a great player too, Nate. When you really look at Chris Bosh in his career, he had a very, very good career as well. And I always thought Chris Bosh, especially when you talk about big threes, you look at the big three in Miami. We obviously point to LeBron James, and the next up will point to Dwayne Wade. But Chris Bosh had just as big as an impact on that team as LeBron James and D Wade did. I understand that LeBron James was a star and D Wade was like his right hand man. But let me tell you something: Chris Bosh, if they don't got Chris Bosh, they ain't winning those championships. It's just as simple as that. Okay, Chris Bosh, obviously, he had a great career. He was in that 2003, 2004 class with LeBron James and with Dwayne Wade, except obviously, and then you got Carmelo Anthony coming into that class as well. But Chris Bosh, to me, Nate, it seemed like he was the forgotten one in that class. And Chris Bosh, I felt like, was always somewhat underrated as well, only because the teams he was on before, well, when you really look at it, before he got to the Heat, he was on the Raptors. And I think he was the star of that Raptors team. I do think he was that big star in that Raptors team. But when you go from the Raptors to a championship contender in the Miami Heat, he had to take that backseat, not only to LeBron James, but to Dwayne Wade as well. And I got to commend Chris Bosh on that, because Chris Bosh, again, a great player as well. You mentioned his stats as well: 19.2 points per game, 8.5 rebounds, and 2 assists. So Chris Bosh really did have a Hall of Fame career as well. And you mentioned him as 11-time All-Star, 2-time NBA champion. But so when you really look at it, Chris Bosh definitely deserves to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. There is no doubt about it. And with that being said, it's unfortunate that like his career was cut short, but it doesn't matter, Nate. Like you said, he is a first ballot Hall of Famer. And congratulations to Chris Bosh. Now, going to the other guys like Chris Webber. Chris Webber, Nate, let me tell you something. Chris Webber, I just always felt like he was, I always felt like he kind of had like the unlucky spot in his career. You know, he was so close to win the big one, and then something happened where he just couldn't. You know, you go back to his like NCAA days, and you go back to the Fab Five and the situation that happened there. I mean, obviously, he called the timeout and there were none left, but regardless of that, it just really is unfortunate. And then you go to the Sacramento game, and a lot of people, and one of the most controversial games, the Sacramento Kings versus the Los Angeles Lakers. So when you're ready to look at it, Nate, it is really unfortunate. But you look at Chris Webber's individual stats, and again, nothing to shy down on. 20.7 points per game, 9.8 rebounds, and 4.2 assists. If you ask me, Nate, you put an NBA championship next to Chris Webber, and I think that man really is. It really is a first ballot Hall of Famer. 5 straight years he has been a finalist, but he just never got in. This is his year to get in, and he absolutely deserves it. I think if you put an NBA championship next to Chris Webber's name, that is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Okay, and I obviously, people could say I'm hyping him up, but I'm really not, because Chris Webber was always underlooked in my opinion. Again, 5-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA. So when you really look at it, Nate, Chris Webber, every team that he went on, whether it was the Kings or the Warriors, he had an impact, a big, big impact on that team. And he was one of the most entertaining players to watch. Go look at his highlights. If you never heard of Chris Webber, go look at his highlights. He was a very, very entertaining player, very, very athletic player as well, too, Nate. So with that being said, congratulations to Chris Webber on making the 2021 Basketball Hall of Fame class. Much deserved. Now let's get to one of my favorites, Nate. Ben Wallace. Let me tell you something. You want to talk about a defensive force? That is Ben Wallace right there. That is Ben Wallace is what you call a defensive force as well.
Want to talk about an afro? That was Ben Wallace too.
You want to talk about an afro? That was Ben Wallace right there. I mean, I gotta. That's some hair right there. I'll tell you right now. I think he was one of the most feared players in the NBA. I really believe that. I think he was one of the most feared. you know? And one thing that, and there's two things, Nate, that come to my mind when you think about Ben Wallace's career. I'm going to start with the first one. The first one was that 2004 finals where him and that Detroit Pistons team defeated Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, Karl Malone, and Gary Payton in the finals. That was a super team for the Lakers right there. And obviously, people are going to point to Karl Malone and Gary Payton. Obviously, they were past their prime. But regardless of it, that was a super team right there. You want to talk about big names? Those were big names right there. And Ben Wallace, I believe he was the leader of that Pistons team. And he just got them all together. They came together and they were like, we are going to beat this Lakers team. We are going to win this NBA championship. And that's exactly what they did. That is the first that is the first memory I have of Ben Wallace, just how dominant he was in those finals. And the next one is the Malice in the Palace. The Malice in the Palace. That is the next memory I have of Ben Wallace. And the reason why is because obviously there were many brawls going on during the Malice in the Palace. That was one of the most infamous moments in sports. But I think the heat of the moment, I think it all started when Ben Wallace and Ron Artest had that confrontation. Just seconds away from the game ending, they had that confrontation, and Ben Wallace and Ron Artest, they got into that little scuffle, and then that little scuffle ended up turning into one of the most infamous moments in sports history. But regardless of that, when I think of Ben Wallace and I think of his NBA career in general, Nate, he was a great player, and obviously the offensive stats, it doesn't show, but people also got to realize it's not just about offense, Nate. It really isn't. Now, one time in his career, Nate, did he average double digits in points, but he's a four-time All-Star. Okay, he's a four-time Defensive Player of the Year. Okay, you don't like when you really look at it. He is a two-time rebound champ. He is a 2001 2002 block champ. You want to talk about a defensive force right there? That is definitely Ben Wallace. There is no doubt about it. So when you look at Ben Wallace's career, that's what I think he will be known for the most, is being just a defensive force in general. So obviously, when you look at his career, Nate, Ben Wallace, I think he really does shine on the defensive side, and I ain't got no problem with calling him one of the best defenders to play the game. I ain't got no problem with it at all. You can go grill me in the comments. I do not care. I have no problem calling him one of the best defenders in NBA history because, to be honest with you, that's what he is. 16 seasons, Nate, 4 Defensive Player of the Years, four-time All-Star. Like, what else do we got to say here, Nate? Two-time rebound champ, one-time block champ. Okay, now obviously, is he the greatest? No. Okay, in my opinion, if you ask me who the greatest defender is of all time, I'm gonna say Dennis Rodman. That's just what I'm gonna say because I think that's absolutely true. But he is definitely up there. He is definitely one of the greatest defensive players to ever play the game. And I gotta commend him on his performance in those 2004 NBA Finals. That was a very tough team to go up against. He went up against them and he beat them, and him and the Detroit Pistons beat them, and they became NBA champions. So with that being said, Ben Wallace definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. Congratulations to him, and congratulations to the rest of the 2021 Hall of Fame class for Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. Well deserved.